guys, we are working on adding detailing and weathering to the destroid defender. And I just wanted to show you guys what a difference it makes. Here we have a bit of panel lining going on one leg of the defender. For that, whoops, and we knock him down. He's not defending anybody on his back. For that, we're using Tamiya black and brown panel line accent. The black is adding the shadows, the brown is adding a bit of dirt and rust to it. And this is how we're going to start with our weathering. We still have a long way to go. So here you can see how it makes all of the details on the legs just really stand and pop out. And that's what we're going for on the first step of the weathering and detailing. Just have all of the details stand out so that you make something really visually interesting to look at. And in comparison, this is what it looks like without any of the detail weathering, detail painting, and panel lining. As you can see, it really makes all of everything, the whole leg just pop. I mean, it just really brings it all out. Gives you tons of stuff to look at. I think it's a much improved look for the mech. The paint itself is really good at adding all the highlights and to the colors, but this is what really brings it to life. So we're going to continue with this, and when we're done with the panel lining, then we're going to start adding some more colors, some decals, and just get this thing really moving. Alright, we're going to get back to this. Okay guys, we're getting set to start applying decals to this thing, and there's a ton of decals that need to be applied, as you can see here. And one interesting thing about their decal sheet, which is pretty cool, you see the number for the decals? There are multiple decals that look exactly the same, and they group them together and then give you a little more. Instead of just having numbers there, they actually segment out the individual groups of decals, which is pretty cool. I don't think I've ever seen that before on a model kit. And you see all the numbers, instead of just having the numbers actually point to the decals that they are referring to. Way to go, Bandai. Really making user-friendly decals.
Alright guys, next up is number 8.
Okay, so now we've applied 4 so far.
There we go.
And we're on a long path of decal application. Alright guys, we're continuing on with the decal application on the destroid defender. And as you can see, the thing has decals everywhere. All sides of this thing has one decal or another. And the sheet actually brings extra decals so that you can place a few extra ones anywhere on the body that you feel you need to. So the reason we're talking about the decals is because there's one part of this kit that makes decal application just a little bit difficult. And that's here on the lower part of the leg. There's a raised detail here that the decal lays over, because it's supposed to look like it's painted over this cover here. And as you can see, I didn't get the decal to lay nicely. So far, still have one left to go. But the reason I was able to get this to lay nicely is because I started using decal setting solution. And you're going to need this to make this decal sit over that cover so that it looks like it's painted on. Now, one thing I do have to say about the decals in this kit, they are really very good quality decal. They're very thin, so that when you apply them, they're so thin that they appear almost painted on. And after putting some decal setting solution on it, they look really good. They have very minimal carrier film around them, so that it's almost as if you're just applying the decal directly with no carrier film on it. I mean, they're really good. They're very thin. They they conform with decal setting solution really nicely. So I really have to give them credit on the decals that they put in this kit. So now I'm going to apply the last decal to the leg here. And you guys can see exactly what I mean about where it lays over this cover. So that you can, if you were going to build this kit, any of you guys out there who are looking forward to building this kit, you'll be able to see exactly what you're going to have to go through in order to get it going. So I'm just going to soak the decal now. I'll let it sit for a minute, and then we'll be back with setting the decal. Alright guys, the decal has loosened up from the backing paper. It's only been a second for you guys, but it was a couple minutes for me. And now what we're going to do is I just coat this entire area. And usually I use Microsol 1. Microset first and then Microsol, but for this particular area here and the problems I know I'm going to have, I go straight to the Microsol so that it can start melting the decal. And I dropped it in the water, but I have it here in my hand. As soon as the decal hits, okay, let's make sure we don't screw that up. There we go. There we go. So now we just have to position it where we want it, and then we work at it. Alright guys, now you can see the effect firsthand on how decal solvent helps when applying decals over uneven areas. And you will definitely need it for, oh wait, I have the light on. Let me turn the light on so you guys can see a little better. You would definitely need it for these lower decals here. But it is doable without slicing up the decal, even though I'm probably going to do that now anyway, because now I've got to chip them up, because as you can see, this is not a pristine mech, and it's going to have quite a bit of wear and tear on it by the time I'm done. So just wanted to show you guys one of the tricky little aspects of this kit when you're applying the decals. Okay guys, now that we have the decals all done, I spent the better part of an entire day doing the weathering and detail painting, and I still have a bit more to do. And I just thought I would cover how I did all of the chipping weathered effects on this model. It's actually an interesting technique that I learned from some of our fellow YouTubers that involves a piece of sponge, a pair of tweezers, and my favorite metallic color, the Tamiya Metallic Gray XS56. This is a great color as it really gives you a good metallic sheen. So let's give it a little mix up, and then we're just going to go over exactly how I applied all of the chipping effects. Because if you notice, if you look at the model really close up, there are chips of all different sizes. There are scrapes. There's all sorts of different damage that give it a very realistic look. The chips can't all be the same. If we look really closely at the model, you'll see that there are all sorts of different chips of different diameters and sizes all over. Very realistic in the depiction of scraped up paint from a big machine that's been lumbering through battlefields. You'll have some large chips, you'll have some small ones. You have a little rust forming over the bare metal. And they can't be uniform. It's got to be very random. So I'm going to show you a little bit of how I do it, since I have to do this part here, which I completely forgot. So we're going to do that now and get a good chance to give you guys a little example of how I do this. Now, I'm no expert at it. This is actually the first time I've tried this on this particular model, and I'm very happy with the results. So let's give it a shot. Basically, we're just going to, you can't see it on camera, but I'm just dipping the sponge in some paint. We're going to take off the excess because all we want is, we don't want too much paint. We just want it to give us a small little sample, just to leave small little drops of paint on the kit. And then we're going to go basically where we think chips may occur, you know, on the edges. And you want to be very careful. You don't want to pick up too much paint, because you want the chips to be very random. And you also want them to be different sizes. You don't want them all to be uniform. So you want to apply them different areas of the sponge. You want to also apply various pressure, not all exactly the same. And you want to just give it as realistic a look as you can, which is basically what I'm accomplishing here. And put a little too much paint on that side there. And the fun part about this, I mean, you can chip as much as you want to give the piece exactly the look that you want. As I said, I am no expert. This is the first model that I've actually attempted to try this technique on, and I'm very happy with the results. So if I can do it, anybody can do it. And then I like to put a couple of chips around the body of the piece, not just on the edges. And there we have it, guys. Very easy. Like I said, if I can do this, anybody can do this. As I have to add a little bit of rust to different areas of the body to coincide with all of the chipping that's on there, as I have decided this thing is going to be a battle-hardened mech that has seen a lot of action. Now, one thing I wanted to mention was I bought this really nice set of rust and chipping effects from Vallejo, along with their rust and stain and streaking box set of paints. And these things are fantastic. I've used so far a combination of Vallejo light rust, and yellow ochre. Now the rust, self-explanatory as to what I'm using that for. The yellow ochre, a little bit different, as I decided that after doing all of the weathering and all of the chipping effects, that I wanted to brighten up the color of the mech just a little bit, just to have very, very, very subtle brightening of the color. So what I did was I took the yellow ochre and I dry brushed it very, very lightly over all of the body panels on the mech. Now, what that did was it gave it a subtle, very, very subtle lightening and brightening of the color, which, if the effects work right, you won't notice it, but what you will see is that the color has a bit more depth to it. It's not just a flat, what color was it? That U.S. Army sand beige. U.S. Army sand was the color I used. Now that was another color from Vallejo, I'm pretty sure. Their range of paints is fantastic for airbrushing and military colors and this type of thing. But it was a very, very even, pretty much one-dimensional color. By adding a little bit of yellow ochre, and now I just dry brushed it in the center and blended it out into the U.S. Army sand, it's given a the only way I can describe it is more of a depth to the color. It brings the color a little more alive, gives you a little bit more variations in tone, and really, I think, makes the color of the mech pop in a very subtle way that you won't notice it while you're looking at it, but you will see that the color just looks really right, if I can describe it that way. Now, we already went over all of the decals. I did have to beat them up a little bit because I needed the mech to look like it's been through quite a few battles. So far I am extremely happy with the way this kit is turning out, even though it is not an easy kit to build, and every single seam, this kit is a fitment nightmare. Now, it's not done yet. Still have a couple more things to wrap up, a little more rust to put on, and then one final flat coat, and then I still have to add all of the lights. So we're going to end this video right here, and guess I will see you guys on the next one, where we will have the final and the reveal of the Destroid Defender from Bandai. See you on the next one, guys.